My SM7B.
My
I
pod
love
mic.
that SM7B.
I love my pod mic.
I'm trying a new interface, not like right this moment, but one I'm going to write a review on.
For the
It's an
Moy
awesome
website.
The Arteria, the hell is it? Mini Fuse 1. I actually have a Mini Fuse 2, but I lent it to my my NPR engineer neighbor and haven't seen it since.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. How dare he?
Damn him.
Of course, I basically did it because he's got an Electro Voice RE27 that I desperately want to try.
And he'll never see it again.
No. I mean, mics are like, especially when you're talking, that's a $500 microphone.
I'll say Electro.
So,
that one's big money.
Yeah. Though the one I want to get is the Electro Voice RE320, which is about a $250 condenser that is super smooth. Of course, I don't need it because I have this Lewitt 440 Pure, which is super smooth, and a Rode NT1 that is super smooth. But he with the most mics wins. That's how that works. I don't have the show notes up, Dave, because I can't read them anyway. So,
okay.
I'm just going to react.
All right. So, Dave,
I got some.
You make up some completely
shit.
off the wall story, and I will play it straight.
Yeah.
I have different sunglasses on than the other night. These are not quite as dark.
All right, just trying to get all the tweets.
Wow, excuse me. Sorry,
there's
about
absolutely no point in me bringing up YouTube to read the comments.
Okay.
Because without my regular glasses that I can't use because it's too bright looking at this computer screen,
I'm with you.
I can't read them anyway. I blame Jeff Gamet.
That's a fair cop.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of my go-to.
Yeah, it's often mine too.
Yeah, when I'm at work and somebody says, "Why did you do that?" I said, "Jeff Gammon said it was the best course of action to take," and they roll their eyes and go, "You're still listening to that guy?"
I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah. I mean,
and
to be fair, my advice
last,
isn't wrong.
It's my last big Fresca.
Is it wrong?
Oh, so good.
Yeah, they are good.
I love Fresca. Dun, 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 dun.
Go buy some more.
Can't get. I've got more in the house, but it's like the small little 10-ounce cans,
and you can't see them right now.
That's right.
Well, it's not even that. It's just in order to get that same amount of Fresca deliciousness, I have to drink 2 cans instead of 1 bottle.
So it's like Fresca shots.
Yeah. And this is the standard definition for a first world problem.
Yep. And say hello to Paul in the chat room. Hello, Paul.
Hi, Paul.
Hello, Paul.
It is so good to see you in a blur.
All right. Got everything tweeted, Facebooked. Go to the notes. That 248.
Who do we appreciate?
248. All right, let's start the recording here. The thing I forget to do sometimes.
Yeah, don't forget that.
Yeah, it's a bad thing.
Hijack, and there is Zoom.
Wait, you record these?
Oh my God.
I thought we were just talking.
Yeah.
What the absolute hell, Dave?
I know. What can I say? All right.
I mean, I'll stay anyway.
You were warned. In 5, 4, 3, 2, Welcome to episode 248 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and my guest this week is Elwood Blues. Oh no, it's Guy Searle. How you doing, Guy?
Hey, I'm sorry. Is someone saying something? I can't quite see where they are. They're there somewhere.
Glad you're here, Guy. How you doing?
Thank you. It's good to be seen.
as your screen reflects on those glasses, but
yeah.
And also Jeff Gammett's here. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing all right. I'm being meta. I'm waving.
Let's see if it goes. It's seeing in his.
Oh yeah, I could totally see my waves in Guy's eyes.
Yeah,
that was dreamy.
It was dreamy. So we have another show this week. Lots of stories. There's always something going on and all kinds of other fun stuff. And we're just gonna hit it here. It would also help if I had more current notes that that sometimes just.
Oh no, last week's notes will be fine.
Right. It's not like Guy's going to know the difference.
I will not.
Yeah, where did they go?
Making fun of a hard-sided person.
Dave, you were in the notes and then disappeared.
Yeah, where did they? They're not here.
Would you like me to give you the link to your own notes?
Yeah, let's stall here for a minute. Why are my notes?
Would you like to restart this show over again?
No, we can. I'll edit this. Why is it's not here?
Look in the chat. He gave you a link to your own notes.
Why? I don't understand why they're gone. I'm literally in my sheet. It says 247.
Yep, there you are. I see you again.
Yeah. Let's start over. I goofed. I guess I didn't change the. Yeah, I guess that is right. I'm all completely discombobulated. Take two.
I blame Guy.
I would.
All right, let's try that again, everybody. That sometimes happens, when those things happen.
Yep.
Right. Give me one more sec here. Check something. Okay, we're good. I got thrown off there. That happens.
Sometimes it takes a village.
Yep. And that threw me off too. Okay. In 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome to episode 247 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I am your host, Dave Ginsburg, and my guest this week is it Elwood Blues? Oh no, it's Guy Searle. How you doing, Guy?
Hey, it's great to be sort of seen and to sort of see others. That's how my life is these days.
Yeah, well, glad
it's really kind of it's a whole lot of fun when I'm driving to work. It's like pinballs.
The dings.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And that chuckle there is Mr. Jeff Gammett back on the show. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing well, and it really does feel wonderfully meta to be able to look into Guy's eyes and see myself.
I think I can see him when they wave. Yeah. Well, we're glad you're both here. So we've got some good stuff to talk about this week. Lots of stories, a lot of stories that happened this week. Beta, we got a pending release here coming up very soon here. Got a couple of good topics about podcasting and I think it's going to be In Touch with streaming this week too. So lots of great stuff to talk about. But let's just jump right into news like we always do. First story here is Apple is working on Beats Studio Buds Plus earphones. Apple's developing a new version of the Beats Studio Buds called the Beats Studio Buds Plus. Signs of which were discovered in iOS 16.4 release candidate. Seems like lots of things have been discovered in there this week. The Buds Plus looks similar to the Studio Buds that were initially introduced in 2021. And it was suggested that there will be an upgraded from the H1 to W1 chip, but it looks like it's going to probably feature the H1. So we'll see where it happens. This is a crowded field of buds, and Jeff, being the audiophile you are, Do you think this is going to be something that Apple's going to sell a lot of? I'm kind of wondering.
I think it will sell just fine. Beats is a very popular brand, and yeah, so it will sell. I won't buy them. The sound profile is not for me. Yeah. It's too muddy for me. But I appreciate that for a lot of people, that that bass that they get out of Beats, that's the thing. So yeah, I think it'll sell just fine.
I got the headphones from a while ago. They're still, probably should have sold them. I hadn't used them in so long. But no, they make some good stuff. Guys, something like this, would you buy that? Are you happy with the AirPods? I'm sure you are.
Well, I look at this as more of a stopgap for Apple until they sell their own earbuds and headphones.
Yeah, I think you nailed it.
Yeah. No, in all seriousness, Beats serves a completely different market than Apple's own earbuds do. Apple's earbuds, while they certainly aren't comparable to, some really good Sennheisers or even, like Audio Technica 50Xs, or the Sony 7586, I think, whatever those headphones are that everybody swears at, or two. They're, for earbuds, they're relatively flat and they sound pretty good without overdriving certain parts of music that other manufacturers like to emphasize.
Yeah, no, that is true.
But they'll sell plenty because Beats pretty much always does. But again, like Jeff, this isn't something that I'm all that interested in buying.
Yeah, me either. I mean, I've got plenty of headsets and earbuds to last me for probably a lifetime. Next story, I did notice this, and I saw you just tweeted this, Jeff, that Dark Sky's database went down, and all the Carrot users had to switch databases. What happened? Did you hear what happened there, Jeff?
I don't know exactly what happened, but okay, I can tell you what happened for me, which is that Apple toyed with my emotions and then ripped my heart out. So I noticed this morning for me that the Dark Sky app started working again. And so I had about 45 minutes where I had glorious dark sky, and then it stopped. And then about that time, any app that I had that was using the dark sky data, that stopped using that. So my guess is that Apple was in the process of switching over how the data sources are identified. And while that happened, the Dark Sky app started working again for a little bit, and then Apple just ripped all our hearts out.
Yeah, some people call that Thursday.
Yes, I had to stop and think about that, but you're right. Yep, that's just Thursday.
Yep.
Yeah, there wasn't really much press on it. So which database did you switch to?
I'm now using the Apple database, which seems to be matching what the Dark Sky database was doing. So if that continues to hold true, then okay, great. I'll be happy. When the Dark Sky database stopped being a reliable access point, I was trying all of the other weather databases, and it didn't matter how accurate people said they were equally crap, at least for me.
Yeah, it's
but so far today, Apple Weather has been pretty accurate for what's going on here.
It's good news. It's good news. The guy, do you have anything else on that? I don't know if do you use Carrot?
No, I pretty much just use Apple's weather app. On my computer, I'll go over to the NOAA website or some of the other ones that are out there. But on my phone, it's like, look, I just want to know if it's going to be cold where I'm going or where I am and what the weather's going to be like. And I just can't get too excited about it. I know that a lot of people really and honestly, I never even looked at the Dark Sky app. So maybe I'm the one who's missing out on something that was, great, glorious, and beautiful. But I just want to know what the weather is where I'm going.
Yes, I think that's what most of us.
The reason Dark Sky was so important for me, and presumably for a bunch of other people around where I live, because of the wailing and gnashing of teeth that we've all been experiencing. We have so many microclimates, like a 2-block area. It can be sunny, and then the next 2 blocks, it's a crazy snowstorm.
Yeah.
And so the generalized data and forecasts that were coming from the other services was basically useless, because it would give me data from
it was like a generalization.
Yeah. So yeah. And whatever station they were using for their temperature reading, it could be 10 degrees different than where I am. And, if you're talking the difference between 30 degrees and 40 degrees Fahrenheit, that really matters.
Well, the weirdest weather experience I've ever had was it was pouring down rain in our backyard and sunny and bright in our front yard down in Fort Lauderdale. So I don't know if that counts as being like micro weather. Of course,
we call that Thursday here in
Thursday.
Colorado.
Okay. Yeah. That's along with the apple ripping out of the heart thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Next story here is the new Chat GPT. That seems like all we've been talking about lately is Google is already in on it now. It's called, if I pronounce this correctly, Bard, BARD. And they opened up the AI access to everybody. And you went on a wait list, similar to what Bing did with Microsoft did with Bing. It's supposed to be an experimental conversation AI service for Google search. You can join their wait list. I was like, okay, I guess gotta be waiting for a while. Well, what happened? I joined, I think I joined on Tuesday, and then Wednesday says, oh, we're ready for you. So I ended up getting access to it. And it's interesting to see comparisons of how it does. Did you get your access yet, Jeff?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
In my defense, I got the email from Google a couple days ago saying, hey, sign up. And I waited at least a full day before I even bothered to think about it. And then finally signed up, I guess, yesterday afternoon, maybe.
Oh, okay. So you got a few days.
And I have not bothered to look and see if I've received an email from Google yet.
Well, it's just as well that you didn't, because Google is going to rip your heart out because it's Thursday.
Yeah, I know. And unlike Time Lords, I don't have hearts to spare.
So I thought I'd do something fun with and play with Guy a little bit here. I typed in bio of Guy Searle to see what would come up. And does say Guy Searle is a content creator, writer, and associate producer for Enso Media Firm. Did you ever work for that company?
That's my son.
That's your son. Okay, so maybe
that's my son. Okay. That's Guy Searle Jr.
So
he just started like a week and a half ago at that place.
That's kind of scary, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's kind of scary. But then it brings up a second sentence. Longtime Mac user insists on inflicting his opinions on technology even when others wish he couldn't.
Yeah, when I came up with that line, I thought it was brilliant, and I laughed so hard. And now here we are, 15 years later. It's still bringing smiles to the world around us. So okay,
so it makes both you and your son in this.
Which is you put us together, and we're like 45 years old, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Then then
Makes
to
your
close,
heart
it says it, and his podcast, Guys Daily Drive, is a popular destination for Mac enthusiasts.
Popular, huh? Let me think about that for a second. Popular.
So the bottom line is it's very experimental. I put my name in there to see what would come up with. And it's, it's a mixed bag of stuff. So I think they got a little ways to go with this one. I mean, I've been using ChatGPT, and it seems pretty solid. I did try Bing's as well, and so I think this is interesting to see how this is going to go. I know, Jeff, you've had thoughts of this. You know, you're a very accomplished writer. I'm an okay writer. It kind of I'm finding it to help me along a little bit to do better at writing. But is this something that are you going to think it's going to be something you'll use in the future?
Not in its current state. It's not something
No.
that I would use. Now, as it evolves and potentially becomes better and more reliable and does less hallucinating, I could see it as a research tool.
And that's what I'm using it for.
Yeah, like tell it, summarize the information about whatever, and then it goes out, finds all the data, brings it back to me, and gives me sources, so that
Right.
I have a starting point for my research.
Yeah.
But as far as letting it write the content for me, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I just don't see that. I think it's something. It gives you ideas. That's at least in my opinion.
That said, tools like this at some point are going to be used a lot for content generation, and I think we'll end
Already
up.
Is.
That's true. It is, but it's going to become more prevalent. And so what we will have basically two levels of content creation. You'll have the AI content creation, and then you have the human content creation. And you'll use the AI content creation much in the same way you're already seeing happen with some news and other content sites, where they're just letting the AI craft articles out of whole cloth for them, and then they run them or post them at just like any other piece. And then you'll have the content that's actually being created by people. And I think at some point it'll be very clear which type of content you're reading. And I hate to classify it this way, but the AI content, that'll be your clickbait content, and then the human stuff that will be the more fleshed out and more professional content.
All right.
I'm kind of an opposite mind of that.
Yeah.
I think right now you're seeing the difference between AI generated content and human content. But as these AIs become more proficient and become better at picking and choosing the words that they're going to spit out, that it's going to get harder and harder to determine what's human and what's AI. I actually wasn't all that interested in AI chat. Carl Madden from the Mac and Forth show, I had him on a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about it after we got done. And he was like, look, just type in review for one of your microphones. And I was like, really? And he was like, yeah, go ahead. So I typed in review a Lewitt 240 Pro, and it spat out about 600 words of a pretty damn good review of a Lewitt 240 Pro condenser microphone. However, because I had one and I knew what the specs were, I saw some glaring errors in the information that it was putting out.
There you go.
But it was well written, and most people who didn't know the profile of that particular microphone would be like, oh, well, that sounds like it's just the perfect mic for me. And I don't think they would have been able to tell that was written by an AI. Now, I've been doing reviews of microphones and interfaces over at MyMac recently. And after reading that, I've found that I'm being much more careful in how I phrase things in the reviews that I'm writing, just so nobody thinks that I'm, starting to use an AI, chat AI to write the bulk of it, and then I just change some words here and there. And it's spooky as hell how
Mhm.
well, and it's well written. It really is well written. And it's almost uncanny valley kind of thing. If you know that it's AI. If you don't know that it's AI, you may not be able to tell the difference.
Mhm. Yeah, Guy, I'm totally with you, and I agree that it's going to get harder and harder to tell the difference between the AI written content and the human written content. Well, what I really mean when I say there'll be these two levels, it's the mass produced, the factory word stuff
Yeah.
that needs to be spewed out. That's where you're going to see AI dominate. The more specialized pieces, the deeper analysis
The deeper
pieces.
cuts.
Yeah, like the New Yorker, Smithsonian Magazine. You are not going to see, unless they're doing it as part of an example of something,
Research.
you're
Yeah.
not going to see AI generated articles places like that.
Yep.
Well, I hope not. We're at, and the part of it that really worries me is that we are just on the beginning cusp of
Oh
chat
yeah.
AI. And it's already branching out into art and other aspects of content creation. And I know, talking about Carl Madden, he's signed up for some kind of service where you basically you take someone's voice and you feed it into this algorithm, and then you type in what you want that voice to say. Well, he did it for me. He used my voice to do it. And I could tell that it wasn't me, but it sounded exactly like me with my inflections and how I sometimes go up when I'm speaking. I mean, it was all there, and it was scary as hell.
Yep.
Yeah, that
Am
is
I
scary.
live or am I Memorex?
Yeah.
People under the age of 40 probably don't even know what that means.
Yeah.
The rest of us, though, we totally get your reference, old
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, oh man.
Take a look
Right.
at yourself.
All right, let's go ahead and move on here. A couple of YouTube TV stories. YouTube TV's price was going up to $73 a month. It's going up another $8 starting this month as we record this. They are going to drop the price of the 4K, which I found to be kind of crazy that they were charging $19.99 a month for 4K. You drop down to $9.99 a month. So if you want to get 4K content, it's good. It's been around since 2017, so it was priced at $35 when it first came out, but all the licensing fees are starting to get to them pretty good here. They want to have the content. I mean, they did. I think they just lost MLB, and they're losing a few other channels. So, but they do have over 100 channels available, and you can get add-ons like HBO and Stars. I like their interface. I've tried it. I tried it again just to see how it was, because I've been trying desperately to try to figure out a way of getting away from Xfinity Comcast, but I wasn't successful. So we can say goodbye to YouTube TV. I'm not gonna pay for that when I am already paying for Xfinity. So what do you got? What did you think, Guy?
This has been the problem with cord cutting, that I think a lot of people that were pushing for it either didn't anticipate or glossed over it when it was all cable TV. All right, well, it was kind of expensive, but you knew what that price was going to be month to month, and if they raised it, you could complain, and then they would drop it again for a year.
Yeah.
With the new streaming overlords, every single channel out there thinks that they deserve $4.99 a month. And the problem with that theory is that most of them don't. So when you have a service like YouTube TV, like Fubo, like Hulu, like all of these other grand unification streaming sites that try to put everything together into one package, you end up at a price that's basically, especially when you throw in internet access, that's basically the same price you were paying before with cable. The only big difference is maybe the UI is either different or better or worse.
Yeah. What do you think, Jeff?
I think this, like the Beats earbuds, is not a product that interests me.
Yeah.
I've always looked at the YouTube TV thing as an alternative for people who wanted to have a lot of content but didn't want to pay Comcast or Roadrunner or whoever is the content bad guy of choice in your area.
Monolithic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And part of the deal was you needed to be able to do this in a way where it was more affordable.
Mm-hmm.
And that's gone now. And but the other thing is, I could see people doing it because they wanted to be able to watch the content they liked when they're not at home. But the cable service providers, they offer streaming to some degree with your cable package now, so that benefit is gone as well.
It's the illusion of freedom.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. So, we're gonna talk about streaming a little more in depth here, just a little bit here. So, let's move on and talk about Apple TV Plus here. They shared the 2023 Friday night Major League Baseball schedule. Subscription is now required because they were showing those games for free to get everybody to entice people to watch the games on Friday nights. It's going to include 2 live games every Friday throughout the 2023 regular season. It'll be broadcast to stream in 60 countries and regions and 13 from 13 last season with no local broadcast restrictions. So they'll start Friday, April 7th with the Chicago Cubs, my home team, against the Texas Rangers in the afternoon. And then they have one Atlanta Braves taking on the San Diego Padres and 7 p.m. at night. So interesting thing too is because Apple TV Plus isn't available to businesses because businesses tend to show sports in their bars and such. So they now have made it available to with DirecTV business customers that like restaurants and bars, hotel lounges, retail stores, and other venues. So now they can show those games in other place. So Apple just continues to evolve with this. The one thing I am disappointed about is the fact that that's the same gosh darn announcers that were last year, which were just horrible.
And you have no choice in the games.
Right, they're just
whatever the games that they're allowed to.
They do that with the other channels too. What do you think, Buck Guy? I think it still becomes it is popular. I think people on a Friday night who are sports fans want to be able to watch the game, right?
Yeah, maybe. I've never been a huge baseball fan, and I think that the fact that it is still restricted. You can, I mean, the only real benefit is if it's your home team and you don't have blackout restrictions. Other than that, it's like, oh well, it's this team that's 14 hours away in that direction and this team that's over there on the other coast that I don't care about. Then why are you going to pay for it if it's a couple of teams or even if both games aren't really something that you're that interested in?
Yeah. Yep. And then so they removed the local blackout restriction, which is a rule from like 70 years ago, honestly.
Yeah. Well, same thing with football.
Wow.
Same thing with like most of the major sports. They want to put butts in seats.
Yeah. Well, that's changed. Anything you wanted to add on this, Jeff?
First, the entire sports industry is completely screwed up.
Yeah.
Just across the board. And every time I hear people that are fans of whatever spectator sport fan thing that they're into, it just makes me, it just validates for me why I'm not into this. That said, Apple having MLB, I think is actually a good thing, because having a major spectator sport franchise as part of your service is a feather in your cap, adds validity to your service. So yeah, good on Apple for having that. And for everyone that's frustrated by whatever limitations you're experiencing with that, I'm sorry you have to deal with that. You should be treated better as a fan and a consumer of that sport.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. So, one thing I threw it here and also in the show notes, don't forget, for those of you who are T-Mobile subscribers, you are going to be able to get free MLB TV subscription. It's like $160 value, whatever it is. And you get a free subscription this upcoming Tuesday as we record this on March 28th. I think you have just before the season starts. You can jump in on that, and they've been doing it for the last 5 or 6 years now, which has been great. For those of you who like to enjoy watching baseball, check that out.
Oh, speaking of T-Mobile, after our discussion over at Mac Voices, I got that T-Mobile scam thing.
The scam shield,
scam sleeve or sieve or whatever they call it.
Scam shield
did not have a single scam call today. Not a single one. I was stunned.
I've been busy. I'm sorry. I'll start getting those calls coming in.
Yeah, well, you got. I mean, I'm kind of disappointed because I can sometimes use that break.
I know, that's on me. I apologize.
Okay.
That's great. No,
Dave, you looked over like you were expecting I was going to have something to say.
No, I'm just enough that I would wait and anticipate.
Yeah, you know us far too well.
Yes. Couple more stories here. Apple reportedly is planning on releasing movies in theaters to increase spending to $1 billion per year. They plan to increase its spending on movies, and it's going to be released globally. This is a report from Bloomberg on Mac Rumors. Apple TV Plus movies like Coda and Cherry debuted in select theaters for a few weeks in 2021, but apparently Apple wants to instigate broader, more conventional theater releases in the future, facilitating by bigger movie budgets. The movie is designed to raise the profile of Apple TV Plus in Hollywood, attract subscribers, and create cultural events. I find this super interesting, that the fact that Apple continues to evolve in entertainment, and I think that this is just going to make them grow even more beyond what we're so used to with a Mac or an iPad or an iPhone. What do you think, Jeff?
Okay, so on one hand, this is not news. This is just business when you're in the entertainment industry. On the other hand, This is news because it's Apple, and they're, turns out, an entertainment company as well.
What?
Oh, yeah, I'm glad you were sitting down for that one. Surprise. I'm not surprised to see this happen. Apple made it very clear when they moved beyond what was the very first thing? They were doing carpool karaoke as their own little thing. Right? When they started. And then they started hiring people to run the show, if you will, to run their whole entertainment side. And they started hiring the right people. So it was clear that when they went for the big talent for making stuff happen, they were very serious about being a legit big name entertainment company. So yeah, throwing $1 billion into their movie budget for getting content out there, yeah, that's a business investment and not a surprise.
Yeah, no, not a surprise at all. Two more stories here real quick. We just talked about T-Mobile. Apple has stopped allowing Sprint iPhone activations, removing Sprint references from the online store. They're no longer allowing customers who have purchased an iPhone or cellular iPad or an Apple Watch to activate a device with a now defunct mobile carrier, Sprint. And they've removed remaining references to Sprint from the online store. And Sprint should be an option anymore for connectivity. They merged with T-Mobile back in 2020, and this isn't going to really change with a lot of people, but people move on. It's T-Mobile now, and Sprint is in the past.
And T-Mobile is not. I mean, it's a cellular company, which means that there's some skeeviness happening there, no matter how you slice it. But the skeeviness factor is relatively low for when you talk about T-Mobile. Their commercials aren't nearly as interesting as Mint, but I mean, you take the good with the bad.
Yeah. So that just an announcement. And last story I want to talk about here is the AirTag helping the DEA in a narcotics investigation. So our friend Andrew Orr at Apple Insider wrote this. Search warrant has revealed how the DEA used an AirTag in an investigation, the first federal agency to actually known to do so. In May of 2022, border agencies 2 packages from Shanghai, China. Inside one was a pill press and a machine to compress materials into tablets, and some pill dyes were in the other. They thought they were being sent illegal narcotics to an illegal narcotics producer. So they brought in the DEA, and investigators inspected the packages and decided to hide an AirTag inside the pill press to track its movements instead of canceling it. It's an interesting story here, and then it goes on to talk about how an AirTag can be sensed when it's moving around, and of course you are warned the fact if it's an AirTag that's not yours, you're going to be told that you have a rogue AirTag that's trying to track you. So I think you're seeing this more and more, and for the government to look at this and acknowledge that this could be something to do. I thought that was pretty interesting here. What do you think, Jeff?
I'm completely baffled by this. The decision to use an AirTag in this way makes no sense to me at all. Because you already brought it up. You, as someone who doesn't own the AirTag, at some point is going to get an alert saying, hey, there's an AirTag around here that's not yours and it's been with you for a while. Why would you risk a serious criminal investigation by throwing an AirTag into evidence that you're waiting to see where it goes? That's absolutely crazy. Then the other part that baffles me is if an AirTag is actually a more reliable tracking device than what the federal government has available.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah. I think you gotta wonder.
Well, I wonder if they had modified it in such a way that it wouldn't.
They don't mention.
Yeah, that it wouldn't announce itself.
Yeah.
But it would still have to go through some kind of network that was connected to Apple devices. So I'm not sure how that would work.
Yeah. Well, in this case, apparently it worked well, but what the hell?
Exactly.
Thank God low-level drug dealers are just so stupid.
They are.
They must have been using Android devices.
Yeah. That's it. There you go. Before we move on, I wanted to make sure I mentioned the chat room, youtube.com/intouchwithios. Thanks for some folks being in the chat, including Kelly Gomont. How you doing, Kelly? And
hey, Kelly.
Paul Berry is in there as well. Thanks. How you doing, Paul? And one thing I'll mention that Kelly brought to my attention, and I missed this, was during the Friday night baseball, they are going to allow you to be able to stream in and choose your local announcers. So if you have a local team that's playing, you'll be able to actually put your local announcers to play as the announcing team.
So that's like Lego bricks for sports.
Yeah.
So you can have the one bag of bricks that's the sport you want to watch, and the other bag of bricks, which is announcers. You stick them together, sort of thing.
Well,
so you make your own broadcast.
It's Friday night, so why not pick announcers for the other game for the other game? So you're listening to the audio from the Chicago Cubs and the Texas Rangers, but you're actually watching the San Diego Padres and the New York Yankees.
No, you're not doing that.
Well, then I'm canceling my subscription.
Okay. I think that would and people would just be like, what?
It'd be like a big
chaos, utter chaos.
All right,
probably play well in San Francisco.
Let's go ahead and move on to the topics for this week. Beta iOS 16.4 release candidate, or also known as RC, is out. It's released this week as we record, and it's been released to both developers and to public beta as well. And it should, I would say, will come out within the week. That's generally the case, unless they find any other bugs. So I think we're pretty confident that a week from this week, the next week, we should say, that it's going to have it's going to be released. So, and there's a ton of stuff in here, and I did put some references to some of the things that are going to have been discovered by various news sources here. They are going to fully optimize the crash detection after false 911 calls, and they're also going to they're also seeing some things like seemingly references new AirPods and AirPods case. So they're starting to see code in iOS 16.4 that some new products are coming out here. Another interesting thing was adding the voice isolation for cellular calls. That's a new feature that's going to be added in 16.4 that could help in the way of the way that FaceTime calls are done with voice over IP and WhatsApp and others. So giving you better voice isolation when it comes to that. And I'm hoping to see more improvements in HomeKit. I'm sure you are, Jeff, as well.
I'm not holding my breath.
I'm not going to hold my breath on it, but it's there. WatchOS 9.4 is going to be out. That's in release candidate as well. They also have it. It'll prevent you from accidentally silencing your Apple Watch's alarm while sleeping, because somebody might be going, "Hey, I gotta turn it on."
Okay, what is the deal with Apple screwing up their touch interfaces so that they will do things you don't intend when you aren't expecting?
Yeah, exactly.
This is just a thing now.
Exactly. So you have that, and I think WatchOS generally is not a really eventful release. I mean, they've got a couple things here and there that they've added.
Not the point releases anyway.
Yeah, generally not. So, there'll be a number of hidden features, and they are going to fix this horrific bug in Apple Music that is syncing playlists with other with different user libraries. I'm like, what? just what I wanted somebody else's user library.
I can't stand my own user library. Why would I want to hear somebody else's?
Yeah. So this version seems like quite some feature adds, but some bug fixes too here. So this
Dave,
is
my favorite part of the Apple Music bug is when the iCloud system catches that it has put one of your playlists in someone else's library. Yeah. And so then it deletes it out, but it deletes it for you too.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, good.
So yeah, we've got the links in the show notes here for some of the things I referenced here. I'm not going to go through all of them here, but we'll definitely be hitting upon these once it's out in the public for everybody else. Meanwhile, if you're doing beta testing on device, check it out. I haven't noticed anything crazy. It's very solid on the iPhone. Jeff, are you seeing it solid on the iPad? I think I have as well. I've got it on the iPad as well.
Yeah. The release candidate is so far playing well for me, and I have not seen yet the problem that was cropping up for me in the previous release, which was that it would just stop seeing anything on Wi-Fi after waking from sleep. So far, Wi-Fi is working fine.
That's good to hear. Good to hear. So check out those links. Next topic I want to talk about is podcasts. There was an industry report card that was released about a week or so ago that showing that Apple Podcasts have actually extended its lead on the top overall platform, and I'm not surprised because I noticed that myself doing a podcast and seeing who's downloading and listening to this show, and it seems to be the dominant version of the podcast app that is being used. And it's well liked by podcast platform for creators. And the survey came from the folks at Pod News. I was going to kind of go through this a little bit and see where things are going here. So Apple Podcasts was up about a couple percentage points, then Spotify right behind that. YouTube, which everybody knows here, I get a lot of people listening to the show on YouTube, is there as well. Apple Music and Google Podcasts, for some reason, is in the top 5. I'm kind of surprised.
I thought they canceled that.
Yeah, I thought they did too. But in fact, Apple's podcast came up in atop almost every category, only losing out to Spotify in directories and innovation. Overall, they they're still dominant with this in this survey. And interesting information to look through here, especially if you are a podcaster, you want to hear what the things in here. Some people complaining things about here, like Spotify is a nice app, but it doesn't support chapters. That's annoying. No one cares about Google Podcasts. I thought they were getting rid of it because YouTube has now added podcast support in YouTube. So now you can actually create podcasts. The podcaster. No, they did it because I've started playing with it, and they've actually added podcasts curation playlists. So if you go to a podcaster's site and they have their podcasts listed in as podcast, it's actually identifying it as a podcast.
So you can listen to it through the
YouTube app
website. Okay,
and the website. Yeah. So I found this was really interesting. See how things are and where things go. With all three of us here being involved in podcasts, Guy, what do you think? Is this something that doesn't surprise you at all? You do My Mac, and you got enough listeners that listen to the different platforms.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't really even care where they listen to the show because, and most of the services I didn't subscribe to. I go to them and it's like, oh, I'm on this one too. Okay, that's cool. So if it doesn't require any extra effort for me to put it on somebody else's platform, then sure, why not? I mean, I'm not getting paid for it no matter what's going on. So if somebody else can make some coin from it, fine. Just, don't screw with it. Don't put in stuff that isn't there without my permission, or in case of My Mac, without Tim's permission.
Right. For you. Jeff, with your experience in podcasts in the past, is this surprising with Apple Podcasts?
Not with Apple Podcasts. With Spotify, absolutely.
Yeah.
My experience has been, you look to Apple Podcasts and then YouTube, and then it doesn't matter after that.
Right.
And so seeing Spotify where it is, I have to assume that part of what's putting Spotify in that position is having some shows that, even though they weren't losing them money, were big names with exclusive deals. Yep. Did I say wasn't losing them? Was losing them money.
Yeah, it is losing them money. We won't mention names, but there's a couple big ones on there that they've paid some serious amount of money for them to be exclusive, and people were listening. Then that makes sense. But I think podcasting is starting to take a bit of a downfall on the Spotify platform. So,
yeah, that's pretty clear.
But all these apps I discuss are on iPhone, iPad. They're all usable apps. I mean, I've listened to music and podcasts on Apple Music. We're on there as well, and Google Podcasts. But I think YouTube is a good platform. It's going to probably evolve even more. I mean, we're here now streaming on YouTube, so it's something that I think Google is starting to see and YouTube is starting to see. And then you have things like, as far as indexes like Pocket Casts. I use Pocket Casts all the time. It's one of my favorite podcatchers, and I've done stuff before on podcatchers. So you have those directories that are there in the podcast index. It's another thing you can look at as far as where these directories are. So to be able to find us and be able to listen and to be able to consume these podcasts on an iPhone or an iPad, I think is the place that you generally are going to do it. And most of the time, video or audio, for that matter. So I thought interesting report to see where things are going. I haven't seen it as detailed as like this in the past year. So anything else you guys want to add before we move on here?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. Lastly, I wanted to touch a little bit about the future of streaming, and actually the future of over-the-air TV. The Verge had an article here. This was a couple weeks ago, talking about the future of TV, and it's up in the air because broadcasters are betting on antennas and modern DVRs will help them stay relevant, but it's a stall transition because they want to transition over to the new standard, which we're on right now, is ATSC, which is 2.1. They want to move over to 3.0. So networks like ABC, NBC, Fox, and CBS are eager to get all hooked into this because that technology supports 4K, HDR, and Dolby Atmos, and all that. And that's, we just talked about YouTube TV earlier, where they were canceling a lot of channels because of the rebroadcast costs are just astronomical. I think it's going to be a start with this technology. You got 5G that all the broadcasters started gobbling up, but when all the bandwidth got the megahertz bandwidth, I think it was the VHF, and I believe in the buying it from the TV channels, and and then of course that starts affecting their signal when their local signal is not broadcasting, which is a digital signal, and you have to have a digital antenna on your roof if you want to be able to watch it. Then that's your way of cord cutting, and people don't want to go through that hassle. But it'd be interesting to see where the relevance of these of all these channels will continue to go as the future, where the future holds for these networks, because you're starting to see them cut shows and realizing that they're not making the revenue that they used to. It's not our channels we remember from the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, how that was those are the primary networks where we all watched and consumed content, and it's not anymore. There's just so many places to watch stuff. What do you think, Jeff? Is this something that you think these networks are going to still stick around in the next few years?
They'll stick around. They will adapt, and they will find what. Okay, when I say these networks, what I mean is that the big ones will stick around. I think the local affiliates, we will see some go away, and then
Right.
and then other area affiliates will have to kind of pick up the slack. Am I misremembering that in the United States there are certain federal regulations about having the over-the-air access to specific types of content? And if so, I could see a day when that becomes the primary focus of over-the-air transmissions, and then the networks will they're just internet streaming for everything else.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a local reason that you had to have local programming to be able to show, what's going on in the local market. But it seems like those rules have kind of laxed a little bit. Not like in the old days where you woke up on Sunday morning at 6 a.m. and they had to show some business affairs or local affairs programming because that they were required by the FCC to do that.
It's the equivalent of cable access.
Cable access,
and then you get the
now
regular emergency alert system tests, and
right, for emergency alerts. That's the other thing. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, now the cable companies are doing it because there's a constant the monthly tests and then they take over every single channel. You can't watch anything for a minute because they're doing the tone test, and this is an emergency alert from the emergency broadcasting system. This is only a test.
Or is it?
Or is it? That is a good question. I mean, the other thing too is free streaming channels are booming. I mean, you have services like you mentioned earlier, like Pluto TV and Tubi, and a lot of those services are offering all this free content. I mean, even Plex, Plex has its own channel guide now. They're starting to expand even more. A lot of these channels. How do you compete with that with cable services like I mentioned earlier? And I'm tired of paying Comcast, Xfinity all of my money, and I just but the problem is that they have all the content you want. The cable companies have the channels that I want. Where if I go to another service like a Tubi or a Fubo or one of those other services, well, they have this, but they don't have that, and I want this. So then you go to the cable company. Okay. No, yeah, you have it all. So, all right, I give up. You win because you want that content. There's some content's important to others, and some not important to some as well. So, it's interesting where this is going to go. I'd like to see. First, I got to get the technology going. That this was actually demoed at CES earlier this year with this ATSC. Is actually stalled in its regulatory craziness, and when the NAB conference is coming up in a couple weeks here, and we'll definitely hear about the more of this as far as where things are going in the broadcasting world. It's not too interesting to a lot of people, but I think, you know, being able to consume this stuff is important too. Go ahead, Guy.
What this reminds me of is the consolidation of over-the-air broadcast radio, where
radio
for years and years and years you had all of these local stations, and you would have local DJs with local weather, and you know, everything would be revolving around, you know, we're the best rock station in Cleveland or what have you. And then as the regulations kind of relaxed, where you couldn't own more than one radio station in a market, well, that kind of just went away. And that when that happened, corporate radio came in, bought up most of the radio stations that are out there, and instead of having local DJs and local weather and all the rest of that, you had various people in centralized locations that were putting out content for Cleveland and for Miami and for all of these other channels that are out there. Mm-hmm. And there was a big loss of local content because it just didn't matter to them. They wanted to have all of the toys. They wanted to have all of the access to radio stations and all the rest of that. And as far as over-the-air television goes, I can see this exact same thing happening, where the networks will go in and they will buy up all of these local affiliates that are all independent now, and it'll be a kind of a similar process. And it's not, I mean, and let's face it, we're not that far away from it now. You have the morning shows that are all network based. You have the game shows that are all network based. You have various news programs that are all network based, and that leads into the afternoon drive, where you have more news programs and your comedies and dramas that are all network based. And if you're an NBC affiliate, you basically have like maybe 3 to 4 hours a day where you kind of determine what content you're going to put out for your local market, and all the rest of it is determined by, you know, NBC in New York.
Right.
So and the worst part of this is, just like with radio, where it's basically killed radio, and radio was having a hard enough time surviving with streaming music and podcasts, and, you know, the wide selection. Tell me if this sounds familiar, the wide selection of content that you could download and listen to without annoying DJs and without annoying commercials, right, and all the rest of that. And we're kind of starting to see that in the video space now too. So if TV and if you want to go even farther back than that, you look at all the problems that movie outlets are having now. And it all kind of comes back to, they decided that they were too important to lose, and so they started jacking up their prices, which in turn meant that studios started jacking up their prices. And now you have local movie outlets closing all over the place. AMC is in terrible trouble. And right, frankly, I mean, really, they all kind of are. So, you know, you had the previous story about Apple releasing more movies in movie theaters. It would not surprise me at all if Apple turned around and bought out one of these big movie chains to show their own movies. And, you know, I mean, Fox did it, Sony did it, a lot of the other movie companies did that. They had their hooks into all of these movie chains that are out there. And it's just it's a consolidation that rarely works out well for local consumers. And, you know, I don't know what we can do about it. The regulations that are supposed to prevent this kind of stuff is kind of getting the wink and the nod from the politicians, because and money feeds all of it. Money feeds all of it. So radio stations die or become such bland imitations of what they were that it no longer matters. TV stations die or become so generic that it doesn't matter whether you're watching it in San Diego or Nebraska. And
Right.
so, I mean, how do you combat something like this? And I don't have an answer. I'm just kind of defining what I think the problem is.
Yep. It just keeps going crazier. Did you have any final thoughts, Jeff, before we wrap this topic up?
I was just visualizing Max Headroom while Guy was talking. And now that you do that, the resemblance is uncanny. Now, I was thinking about big corporate TV as a superpower, and then the little pirate stations running out of a camper trailer, and the little guys trying to stick it to the big guys and really compete in this dystopian world that really wants them to just die off.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that was a good to chat about that topic, and it's definitely going to continue to evolve. But before we wrap up, I want to make sure we mention MacStock. MacStock 7 is here. It is the tickets are now on sale, and the speaker list is filling up. Yours truly is already announced. If you go to the site, you'll see me there on the top of the list. I'm going to be speaking again this year. This will be my 7th. I guess it'll be live in person event there, and the 3 of us have been there in one way or another. And Guy, I know you've been there many times.
I haven't missed one yet.
That's right, you haven't missed one yet. So you and I both are in the same boat.
Wow.
All of them, including all the virtual ones too.
There should be special awards for both of you.
Yeah. Well, I might have a little bit of an advantage, but I do live local, so
yeah, you're just a little bit closer.
Yeah,
I think the most amazing thing is how many different ways I can discover to get to Chicago from Washington D.C.
Yes, you've gone trains, planes, and automobiles.
And automobiles, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
I guess I'll just be flying out.
Yeah, it might be a good idea.
Yeah.
So they got weekend passes for $2.99 for both days, or if you decide you only want to go to one or the other days, you could do that too. It's going to be the same venue, which is exciting. McHenry County College, which is located outside of Woodstock in Crystal Lake, Illinois, and it's going to be July 22nd.
That is such a nice theater.
Yeah, we've had a great thing.
It's a really nice venue.
We've had a great experience there, and then they've been very, very generous, and they give you boxes. We get lunches every both days. You get to meet and network with lots of these great people, and so come check it out. We really want you to come out and see us, and hopefully we see all of you there. If you want to get hotels, there is a break with the hotels at the Hampton Inn, which is close by to the venue. So go get to those links before those get all sold out, because the hotel's going to fill up and it's going to be a lot more expensive. So I
you get to see whatever ridiculous podcasting setup I have that year.
Yeah, that's true.
I laugh only because it's absolutely true.
It is true. Yeah, it is true. So go check it out. That's macstockconferenceandexpo.com. I got a link in the show notes. Mike Potter is a great guy. He's been on the show a number of times. He's doing the event, and there actually is going to be a kickoff event on YouTube. He's been sending out through tweets. So go follow him on Macstock Expo. You can see that, and that should, by the time you hear this, that it'll probably already be airing. But people all go back and watch it so you can see what's going on with the show. So check her out. It's going to be great stuff.
Yeah, and I think people should go and check the speaker page, because word on the street is it has recently been updated. There are new names showing up. Just
there
saying.
is. Oh, I have to go look now. the speakers. Well, look at that. Jeff Gamet is now going to be speaking. Look at that. Awesome. That's great. So Jeff Gamet, there's a reason to go all by itself. Is you got to come to see Jeff this year in MacStock. So
sans pants.
That's right. Pants are always optional.
Yes. No.
Despite what the court order says.
So far we've got Jeff and Chuck Joyner, of course, and Mike Schmitz. Kirsten Assay is going to be there. Allison Sheridan's going there, and there's going to be a number of others. So I think it's going to be one of the best MacStocks yet. So come join us. We'd love to see you.
Yes.
And with that, let's go ahead and wrap things up for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter @intouchwithios. You also could follow us on Mastodon @intouchwithios to find us there as well. Support the show by buying me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We'd really appreciate it. You can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We'd really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe when you are notified when we are live streaming, which is usually on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/intouchwithios, where you can watch and listen to the past shows. And you can visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, for many of the topics we discuss are flipped into that magazine. Link is in our show notes, and you can subscribe to our show and your favorite podcatcher, including Pocket Casts, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, and many others. But better yet, go to our website, intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. I'm Dave Ginsburg. You can find me on Mastodon at DaveG65 at mastodon.cloud. And Guy Searle, thanks again as always for being here. We really appreciate it. Where can people find you?
Not a problem. Oh, you can send me an email, guy@mymac.com. You can find me on the Twitters. I am either Mac Parrot or Vert Shark. Just trying to remember that for a second. Vert Shark is the website that I haven't updated in about 3 months. You can also find me over on Counter Social and Mastodon as Mac Parrot. They're all over there for your viewing and screaming at pleasure.
And thank you. I'm Jeff Gamet. As always, it's great to have you. Where can people find you?
It's always great to get to hang out with you. And Guy, you're okay too.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, so on socials, Twitter and Mastodon, Jay Gamet. That's where I'm most active right now. And then for podcasts, most Tuesday evenings on Chuck Joyner's Mac Voices Live, then Thursdays on The Big Show, and then most Thursday evenings here on Dave's show, and then on Fridays, The Mac Show, and then also on The Context Machine with Brian Chaffin. And then occasionally other shows too.
Yes, you get around.
Yeah, like
like a social disease.
Yeah, and actually, speaking of Mike Potter, I will be joining him tomorrow.
Wait, hold on. How did you segue from social disease to Mike Potter?
I'm not judging. That's all I'm going to say.
All right, fine.
All right, great. And just a programming note, we are going to take a week off here. I am on vacation, a much needed R&R, so we're going to take a week break here from the show, but we'll be back the following week with, I think we have an exciting guest coming up. I'm going to tease and not say, but it's going to be fun. So, and with that, I hope everybody enjoyed the show. We enjoyed doing it, and I hope you enjoyed listening. And we'll stop, and we'll talk again soon. All right. Thank you. Oh, good. He asked me. And I couldn't do it, of course, because I'm leaving.
Because you're leaving, yes. So this afternoon, Mike was like, "Hey, so any chance you can do the show?" And so he's even changing the time to accommodate my schedule, which tells me that first, Mike does like me, and second, I was literally the only person left.
No, we're gonna have him. We're gonna have him on my Mac if he can squeeze us in.
Oh, he'll have you. He'll come on. He's been on a bunch for us too. I'm just thinking about the live stream. Everybody,
bye, live stream.
See ya.
Bloody eyeball! Bloody eyeball!